This is Out of Office Era, a podcast where we're unpacking real conversations about the things we love, the places that we go, and the people that we're becoming. I'm your host, Janelle Rupp-Calvis, a travel and lifestyle content creator that shares both the beautiful moments and the behind the scenes on the internet. But this is the space where we're going to dive deeper. You might know today's guest from a viral video that turned a tough personal moment into No More Lonely Friends, a real-life friendship community that has now connected people all over the world. She's most famously known for taking airplane bathroom selfies, building connection out of chaos, and somehow doing it all without health insurance. So today we have Marissa Meizz on the podcast. Welcome, Marissa.
I'm loving the intro, the no health insurance. I feel like that's an important part of the story to really give.
It gives me so much chaos when you talk about it, and we'll get into Marissa's like the chaotic adventure friend that's doing the craziest shit. And I'm just watching her being like, please don't break a bone. Please don't go to the hospital. I'm worried for you.
You know what? And I think everyone is, but we just have to go with it. I'm
Yeah,
not paying
just
that New
vibes.
York City. I'm not paying that New York City health insurance. It's too
You said
expensive.
no to that.
Too expensive.
Yeah, it is. So you're New York City based, and that I wanted to kind of get into first, like your viral video that kind of started your platform. I think most of us have probably seen this video. This was it's like 2021 or 2?
Yeah, it was 2021.
Okay, explain for people who haven't seen it, kind of like what that was, what your life was like before that. Were you into social media, like posting, and what kind of happened from that?
So in 2021, I had a guy post a video who was just a regular New York random citizen. And he basically overheard these two girls talking poorly about their friend Marissa in a park. And he overheard it and he made a TikTok about it. And he was like, let's find Marissa. Let's find Marissa. It got sent to me so many times, like so many times. And basically it unraveled to the fact it got back to me. And then I reached out to him and then we basically met up the next day and confirmed that it was me. And then it kind of just spiraled from there. And then I just had so much going on with people being like, I want to be friends. Let's be friends, XYZ. And I was like, okay, this is so overwhelming. What do I do? And so I just was like, why don't we all meet up in a park and mutually just be friends, I guess, and do that. So I held the first meetup and a few hundred people came and it was nuts. And it like
That's insane.
turned into this whole thing and people were like, oh, do it in my city, do it in my city. So I just kind of started doing it random cities like around the US. And then I eventually went international and then it turned into people thinking I was like an influencer for travel. And I was like, wait, this is crazy. And then it kind of just spiraled from there and it was super cool. But before I did my own socials, I actually worked for like YouTubers and like all this stuff. I was like their editor and videographers. And I also worked like in the film TV space. So I was a wardrobe assistant for television shows and movies. And I would just be on set for like 18 hours a day and then try to
Yeah.
like balance doing a bunch of other stuff. It was crazy, but I was hustling for a while, but I've been doing, I guess, the social media side since like OG YouTube days, but it just was like I was behind the scenes. So it was kind of different.
Yeah. That's kind of cool. So then like this video brought you to the forefront and all of a
Yeah.
sudden.
Which
What
is
was your first meetup like? Like that when you hosted it for a couple hundred people, was it like a month after? What's the time frame here?
It was like less than 2 weeks, I think. It was like maybe
Oh
a
my
week and a
God.
half later. And I kind of was just like, okay, I have to do it now. Otherwise, like, I wouldn't really
While
like,
the buzz is still
yeah,
there.
it would just be, I was just like, and people want it now. Like, if people are asking now, like, why don't I do it? And I just kind of, I was assuming maybe like 20, 30 people. Oh, no, that's not great. I was assuming like maybe 20, 30 people would go or like something like that because a lot of people were like, "Oh, I'll make it, I'll make it." And I never did like an RSVP because I don't know what I was doing. And
Yeah.
so when I was starting it, I just kind of showed up and picked a spot and was like, "Here we go." I made like an Instagram page for it and it was
Yeah.
called Marissa's Friend Club, like I don't know. And so I just kind of did it and then just over like the next few hours, we stayed there from I think 11 a.m. till 9 p.m. and they kicked us out of the park.
Wow.
It was
Doesn't that like
so
show you
crazy.
how much that people wanted community in that time? Like just the fact that that many people showed up, saw this video, saw this story, and were like, I want to be friends with you. I want to make new friends.
Yeah.
Like, what were some of those conversations like during that meetup?
It was right after the mask mandate went up in New York, and it
Oh,
was
yeah.
kind of one of those times where, like, no one really knew, like, is this the end? Is this not the end? Like, we're so
Yeah.
over this kind of vibe, but also at the same time, you're like, I wanted to be outside, you know? And so
Yeah.
everyone was kind of on their own journey of, some people were like, I'm kind of scared to talk to people. I don't know how to talk to people anymore. Like, I don't even know what I'm doing here. Like, blah, blah, blah. We had people one girl flew in from Florida, this couple
Whoa.
drove from Michigan,
Oh
and
my
I mean, yeah,
gosh.
it was wild, and it was so cool to see people just kind of, like, 1, wanna be a part of this, but 2, just really go out of their way to, like, really wanna meet people, and everyone was making plans outside, everyone was getting numbers, like, it was really cool to
Oh my
watch
god.
in real time.
That's the best because it's not just like a community event where you meet that one time, but it's really like building connections that you can continue to stay in touch with and
Yeah,
meet up with people. And especially in a big city like New York City during COVID, when it's hard to like you can't go out and meet people. I mean, I
mhm.
moved to Seattle in 2020, and you couldn't even sit at a bar at that point. Workout classes like weren't really a thing. Like
Yeah,
there's no way to like build that community.
yeah.
So it's like, okay, how do I meet friends now? Like what am I doing here? And New York was especially like that because people
Oh
were
my god, it
moving
was
out of
good.
the city because it was so expensive and they're just going to go live at home or whatever, and then other people are moving into the city because it's cheaper rent
Yeah.
and that sort of thing.
It was a big deal too because everyone left New York because it was obviously the biggest hotspot in the United States, and it was
Yeah.
really scary because, like, I lived in a huge apartment building. I was the only person on 3 floors. And, like, I
Whoa,
would, like,
that's
leave my
eerie.
yeah, it was eerie. I would, like, leave my door open, like, apartment dorm style and just be like, "If anyone's out there," like, whatever, every day, they would left all the other
Yeah.
apartments open, like, it was weird, so it just was really cool to kind of just go about meeting other people that I would have never run into any of these people before in my life, so it was really cool to just meet other people and just, talk and see how other people were doing.
Yeah, and then how did you transition that into like other events in different cities? Like where did that lead you? And then it kind of also transitioned you into travel, which is
Yeah.
funny because it sounds like you weren't even trying to get into travel at
No.
that point.
I have the craziest story. Not a lot of people know how I actually transitioned. So the biggest part was that I was still working on a Netflix show at the time. And this show was one of the hardest jobs I've ever had. And it was so intense. And we were on set like Monday, sometimes through Saturday. And we were on
Wow.
set from like 4 a.m., 3 a.m. till God knows when. And I
Whenever the
would
work ended.
no, like, legit, and, like, this production did not care about anyone's well-being, so, like, we were there till it was done. And we were working, Monday through Friday, like, whatever, and on Fridays, I would get off work, go drive or fly to whatever state I was hosting the next No More Lonely Friends in, and then do the meetup on Saturday, and
Mhm.
then fly or drive to the next state on for a Sunday meetup, do
Oh my
it
god.
there, and then do it all over again, and I was working, like, 100-hour weeks at Netflix, so, like, it was so nuts, but I was also doing these things where I wasn't sleeping. It was a horrid time, but I was so excited to do it that I was like, "I don't
Yeah.
care." So I was, like, just absolutely rancidly making no sleep happen for, like, probably, like, 6 months straight, and then I went on, like, a No More Lonely
Wow.
Friends tour, and I
Yeah.
did a self-funded tour
That's
of
what I was
the
gonna
United
ask you.
States,
How
yeah,
is this all funded? Like,
yeah.
are you working with partners at this point, or are you
Nope,
just buying the flights yourself? Are you charging for people to come to these events?
nope, they're all free events, all the events I throw are free, 'cause
Incredible.
I think it's important for people to have an outlet. I think everything is
Yeah.
ticketed, and it's just, like,
Yeah.
so hard to be like, "Oh, I wanna go meet someone," but, like, especially if you're going solo, you're like, "I have to buy a
Yeah.
ticket and, like, pay to meet someone," like, you don't know what you're gonna get out of it. Maybe you wanna go for 20 minutes, maybe you just wanna stop by and kinda see how it is, like, you can't do that when you have to buy a ticket, you know? So,
Right.
all of these events that I was doing, I was literally just self-funding from my
Wow.
Netflix job, and, like, it was a nuts of time, but I believe still to this day that whatever money you put in, like, will get back to you, but I also think hello, mail. Um, Blake edit.
Work calling.
Um, but I also believe, like, whatever you put in, you'll get back, especially in money when it terms of, doing things for people and whatever it is. So I put in probably, like,
Wow.
$30,000, and I
Over like that
was
6-month period or like the year it was? Yeah.
it was yeah, over that 6 month or, like, maybe, like, the first year, 30 to $40,000, and I
Yeah.
was broke, like, I was always
Yeah.
broke, I had barely any money anyway, and so before this, it was just me, like, trying to make ends meet, like,
Mhm.
type of thing, and I was like, "Can I even live here anymore?" Like, whatever it was,
Yeah.
so I basically just gave every single thing that I had, like, to try to do this meetup, but I came back, so I
Yeah.
believe in that.
I think that's a side that people don't see a lot. Like you see the success and they see the kind of the after effects, especially like on social media when
Yeah.
maybe your videos are coming across people's pages and you don't see like the grind and kind of the almost like fear of like what if it doesn't come back? Like I'm broke.
Yeah.
What's my next game
Yeah.
plan? Like I don't know. I'm putting everything on my credit card because I have no other options. Like people don't always like see those sides of it and you always hope that you can get out to the other side and like believe in your projects, but it can be scary like in
Yeah.
those moments. So what kept you going? Was it just pure belief or was it the conversations? Like what really was like, yes, I'm going to continue diving in on this. Was there a stopping point or did you just like blind faith, let's go until this ends?
Uh, Honestly, all of the above. I think that the biggest part was I kinda was just like, I didn't know how long this was gonna last. Like, I didn't even
Yeah.
know if people were gonna keep coming to the events, and they just kept getting bigger and bigger, and that's when I was like, "Oh, people are actually wanting to do this, like, this is super cool." And I think when it came to the meetups in general, I just every single time I had a meetup, no matter how many people went or how many people were, like, X, Y like, where we were, whatever it was all these people just crying or like just so grateful that I was doing it or just like they wanted to talk to me or something and talk to me
Yeah.
about their experiences and that like genuinely I would give up my life savings. I was like this is so important, people were like I would have never, I've had two people get married so far that met at
Oh
my
my
meetup.
God.
Yeah.
What, like two couples?
Yeah. Yeah, two couples that
That's
got married.
crazy. Were you
Yeah.
invited to the wedding?
Surprisingly, no. The
Ah!
second one I am, the second
It's
one I
tea.
am.
That's
I
tea.
actually got the invite today in the mail, which is great, but the first one I was not invited, but she was like, "Oh, we met up for dinner and stuff like that," and I was like,
Yeah.
"Whatever, you do you, like,
Yeah, I mean,
whatever."
it's their wedding. They can do what they want, but
You
it's
can
just
do
kind
what
of
you want.
funny. You're
It's your
like,
wedding, it's your wedding.
hi.
But yeah, it was really cool to kinda see those things, and, like, it's very hard to mentally picture, like, oh, like, people still message me from this day, like, "Oh, we met at the first meetup 5 years ago," or whatever, what
Wow.
and it's, like, one of those things they're like, "We've hung out every single day, I would have never stayed in this city unless it was for you," like, those type of messages and
Oh
stuff,
my
I'm
God, I
like,
just got
"Oh,
chills.
wow, it actually does, like, a thing."
Yeah,
So,
like
I
it
think
changes people's lives and you
yeah,
don't it's just a simple free meetup,
yeah,
like I'm
and
hosting and bringing people together.
it's
But I
hard
feel like it
for
comes it
mentally.
comes down to like you creating an inclusive space is what I
Yeah,
was like you've created such an amazing community both online and offline. Like you have over 600,000 followers following your journeys every single day, but then you also have this amazing community that you've built in real life and I think a
yeah.
lot of creators don't have that, like both the in-person connection and the online connection.
I was just gonna say a lot of people have a interesting relationship with their followers because it's parasocial, but
Yeah.
mine is half parasocial, half in real life. And so it's like such a interesting mix, but people meet me and they're like, I feel like I already know you because you are
Mhm.
so personal in person, but it's also like the same online. And so it's kind of like a mix of like people aren't really that weird to me or anything because they're like, "Oh, cool, like, I come to your meetups, I see you a lot," or, like, "I see you talking to other people," so it's like, you're everywhere, so it's kinda like a nice mix, but it's really, really nice to know that, like, I have an online following, but I also have an in-person following that would show up if I threw an event or did something, and that's, like, really important, I feel like, for, like, influencers in general.
Totally, because like you're able to bring people into a room and like that is true influence too, where people are like, no, I want to hang out like with you or with the people that you bring into this space. And that goes so far. I feel like brands don't even realize like what that
Yeah.
can even mean for like those in-person touch points. But I've been seeing that more, I feel like with post-COVID, the different brand events or like my friends Christina and Rayanne who just through that Confident Collective pool party, they're doing an event for like their followers, like a lot more in-person connection because I feel like that's when you really start to build relationships that go
Mhm.
beyond that like parasocial element.
Yeah.
Is there a story or something that really touched you from one of these events that you want to share or that just like really sticks with you after all these years?
I think, a girl that I can't remember which meetup it was, but it was in New York, and a girl came up to me and, she was talking about how she was about to leave New York and she was done with everything. She was like, "I can't meet people, I can't whatever," and she was like, "I've been really struggling, I don't know what to do, I lost my job and everything," and she came to one of the meetups and she was like, "I'm not gonna stay, but I just wanted to, like, say hello to you and come to one of your meetups and basically tell you that I'm supporting you from afar, like, I'm really sorry, blah, blah, blah." And I was like, "Girl, stay for a little bit, like, let's talk for a little bit, like, whatever, XYZ. She ended
Yeah.
up meeting someone there that needed a roommate,
Oh my god.
and then she was like, "Oh, I'm not lea I'm leaving, I'm leaving, I'm leaving." And
Yeah.
then she ended up just going to dinner with this group of people afterwards from the meetup.
Mhm.
2 people in that group worked for a company that was her dream company. They ended up hiring
Wow.
her. Now she's,
Nice.
like, super high up in the job. She came to me, like, 2 years later to one of my meetup,
Whoa.
and she was like, do you remember me?" I was like, "Of course I remember you." Like, I'm really good with faces especially, but I was like, "If you've been in
Yeah.
one of my meetups, like, I can remember you." And she was like, "I got hired to this company." She was like, "I live in, like, my dream apartment in, like, Soho now." She was like, "I'm best friends with all these people from your meetup. We hang out at least 3 times a week." And yada like, just kept going and kept going and kept going. She was like, "I'm the happiest I've ever been." And she was like, "I was gonna go move home and probably, like, do nothing with the rest of my life, and, like, this changed my entire life just because I came to your meetup."
Wow.
And, like, it's so simple and, like, so random, but, like, those types of things, I'm like, "Are you sure it was me? I don't know." I'm like, "Are you
Yeah.
sure?" But it's just so cool. Like, I could never imagine something like that could happen, but it does, and it's kinda one of those kind of random feelings where you're like, "Just go to that event, just go out," just
Yeah.
do it because, like, you
Put
never
yourself
know.
out there.
Yeah.
And I think, like, that's the hard part with social media is we've gotten so used to it, and, like, dating apps and those sorts of things with creating relationships is we're so used to creating those relationships behind a screen that
Yeah.
now when you're, like, in person, like, people don't hit on people at bars like they used to. Like, now it's like, "Oh, I saw you on a dating app," or like, "Oh, I've seen them. I'll, like,
Yeah.
message them on Hinge," or, they're not, like, approaching friend groups and trying to, like, meet people as much as they used to because we've
Mhm.
become so reliant on that connection through the internet, through our screens.
It's painful.
Yeah, it's a little tough, but you've managed to actually create a really cool community online too. And I think one of the pieces I wanted to talk to you about was the like little parts of your content that you have created community around. One of them being your mandatory plain bathroom picture. So explain what that is for people who haven't seen it and just like how it is like a community thing that people who follow you do and post, and it's really fun.
I have no idea how this started, and I actually am so excited about it because I'm just, like, genuinely so stoked. So, a few years ago, I was just, like, on a plane, and I was, like, taking a photo in the bathroom, and then I ended up
Mhm.
I love point 0.5 selfies from, like, like, here,
Totally.
and
They're so fun.
and I was like, "Oh, like, let me just take one, haha, like, whatever." I
Hee hee
posted
ha
it,
ha.
and I, like, literally posted it, and I was like, plain pig bathroom, and I was on a flight. I was going to, I think, Egypt, and I had 3
Mm,
flights that I had to make, and so I was like, "Oh, let me just take it in each bathroom and be like, flight 1, flight 2, flight 3." And I took it in the bathroom, and I was like, "Of course I'm taking my mandatory bathroom pic," because, like, I feel like when you're on a plane, people are like, "Oh, flying here," and they take it in the bathroom mirror, but I just
yeah.
didn't really think about it in anything crazy, and so I posted it, and then I just was like, "Oh my god, let me do it for every flight, that's so funny." And then
Yeah.
one day, someone tagged me in one and was like, "Oh, mandatory flight pic," and I was like, "Oh my god.
This is
Oh
a
my
bit
god,
now, like
wait, oh my god, other people are catching on." And now everyone does it, and they tag it in me, and I just repost it, and I have a little highlight on my story, I mean, on my
oh, that's
profile
so
now,
fun.
and I just put it on there, and, like, people do it now because 'cause they're like, "Oh my god, wait, I'm flying somewhere this week, I'm so excited to take my mandatory flight pic," and I'm like, "This is incredible," and, I actually learned something from my friend Kelsey a few years ago. She was, like, branded as this, like, green loving, like, person, like, she loved the color green, it was, like, this
Okay.
specific shade of green, but it was, like, any green, like, people would tag her and be like, "Oh, thought of
Oh,
Kelsey, thought of Kelsey, thought of Kelsey." And I was
that's
like,
cool.
when I was talking to her, she was like, you have to get something that's, like, people think of." So for a
Yeah.
while, it was wiener dogs, and they would tag me in wiener dogs around the world, and, like, whenever people still I get probably, like, 2 to 3 messages a day of wiener dogs, like, spotted.
That's
So I would
funny.
post
I've
on my
never seen
story
that.
yes, I would post on my story, like, "Oh, I'm in Austria, wiener dog spotted. Oh, I'm in Switzerland, wiener dogs, like,
Yeah.
this wiener dog spotted." And it was just, like, random stuff like that. I don't do it as often anymore with wiener dogs, but I'll randomly do it. But I was like, "I need something to do that everyone can do." And then when that flight pic started taking off, I was like, "Wait, this is genius."
Yeah.
So now everyone thinks like, "Oh," this is kinda funny. When everyone goes into the bathroom, they think of me on a plane. But it's, like, something that you can also join in that, like, brings in a part of, like, my following, but also, like, a whole fun thing that everyone likes to do.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I get to repost it. It's cool. I like it.
It's like community lingo. So like anyone can go into the bathroom on the plane, snap a little photo, and it's like, oh, you see that and that you're tagged, and people are like,
Yeah.
oh, they're a part of like that community. So you already then kind of know a little bit about that person and what they're about and like that what they stand for, which is really, really cool and just
So good.
funny that it's a plain bathroom pic. But you never know what thing is going to be the thing that like takes off. And the fact that it was wiener dogs before this, like,
Yeah,
what?
I
Where
know. Yeah. It's not even like an
Wh-
airport, selfie or anything. No, it's a airplane bathroom, like,
bathroom?
please.
What's the hashtag if people want to participate in this airplane bathroom?
Oh, I don't even know a hashtag. I just would
Oh,
post
people
my
hashtag
story.
it. No, in your stories. Have you looked? I think people hashtag like mandatory like plane bathroom. I don't know.
Well,
I've
so
seen it.
usually I'll put like on the thing. Let me see. And so I usually will just put like mandatory bathroom pick and then I'll do it. But I feel like people are they'll put like mandatory plane pick.
Okay, that's what I was like. I've definitely seen a hashtag before on this.
Yes, mandatory plane pick, and, like,
Yeah,
there's
because
so
mandatory plane
many, like,
bathroom
it's
pick is
just,
pretty
like,
long.
everyone doing it now, like, it's so great, like, there's so many, and it's just so fun, but it's cool because it's, like, everyone will put, like, mandatory plane bathroom pick for Marissa Meizz, like, it's just
Yeah.
so fun to have everyone do it. I love it.
It's funny. I have not taken one yet, but I will on maybe I'll do my flight to Boston someday.
You have to.
Yeah, I'll get a mandatory plane bathroom pick
I
from
love
Marissa
that.
Meizz.
I love it.
So now you are like this travel friend on the internet that is like the most chaotic person. Like for everyone who hasn't heard of Marissa's or seen Marissa's content, she's like the epitome of what's your unemployed friend doing on a Tuesday, or like your random unemployed friend on a Tuesday, and they're like, I don't know, sailing on the Nile River or something ridiculous. And she is employed. She's actually getting paid for most of these things, which is incredible.
Period.
But tell us about like your craziest unhinged travel experience that you've done because I'm not kidding you guys, Marissa has done the craziest shit.
Yeah. So, actually recently happened. I was in a country in South America, and I was just talking to some of them. It's a lot of ranch land, and it's a lot of,
Okay.
like cowboys and stuff like that. There was just a bunch of like random land, but we were also in the middle of the jungle, so it was like half Amazon, half like savannah, and it was in Guyana. If you don't
Yeah.
know, that's a country. It's a real country. It is above Brazil. I did not know it
Okay.
existed until a few months ago.
Yeah.
And I got asked to go there, and so I was like, "Heck yeah, like, let's do it." And I was just sitting one day talking to some of the people, the locals, and they were like, what do you do?" And I started explaining what I do. I'm showing them some of my videos, and they're like, "Wow, you do
Hmm.
a lot of, like, action and extreme sports and blah, blah." I'm like, "Yeah, that's my bread and butter. Like, I love that stuff." And they were like,
Extreme sports with no health insurance.
"Yes, and, like, listen, if I'm in another country, maybe I can get covered, you know?" So,
True.
I go and they asked me, "Well, do you have, like, a bucket list?" And I was like, "Yes, I do, and I've crossed off a lot of it, but there's one that I have not done that I'm waiting for." And I'm like, "One day, it'll come." And they go, "Well, what is it?" I said, "I just really wanna ride a bull." And they go, "Okay, yeah, like, cool, no worries," and they all kinda look at each other, I'm like, "Cool, yeah." We have dinner, go to bed. Next morning, it's 5 a.m., and we're just eating breakfast at, like, the main house, and we're just, like, talking, and one of the main people comes up to me and goes, "Marissa," puts her hand on my shoulder and goes, "Today's the day." And I said, "For what?" I was like, "Today's the day for what?" And she goes, "You're gonna ride a bull." And everyone stands
Oh
up and
my
starts
god.
clapping, they're like, "Yeah!" And I'm like, "Wait a minute." I'm like,
Who knows a bull here?
first of all, wait, do I have a say in this?" And I
Yeah.
already set it up. It's already done. We're gonna go there
So you
after
can't back
this.
out now.
And I was like, "Oh my god, I literally cannot back out now." And I was like, "You know what? We're gonna do it. Marissa, you've got this. You're it, whatever." We show up to this random ranch. I'm like, all right, here we go. Here we go. Here's the last words of my life. And I'm like, okay, they set this whole entire this wasn't just like an activity for everyone. It was
It was
just for
just for
me
you.
that they just set up.
Were you the
And
only one who rode the bull?
oh yeah, it
Oh,
was just
okay.
me. No, it was
Wait, is this
just
like them punking a tourist? They're like,
no,
this tourist wants to ride our bull. Let's go toss her on it.
so I'm like, okay, so I do have to say though, there was this guy there and he is the top rider in the country and he
Okay.
got on Ride
Did
It,
you
blah, blah,
know
blah, blah,
that?
blah. No, well, yes and no, like, it's kinda like
Okay.
I met him before, but I didn't know, like, exactly what he did, whatever.
Okay.
Top ranch hand, like, a great guy, and we were just watching him do it, and he's with ease holding on for, like, 20 seconds, which is, like, insane, by the way, like, not
Yeah.
possible type of thing. I was like, "Okay, so this guy really knows what he's doing." Literally hops off the bowl, lands on his feet type thing. I'm like,
Oh, wow.
"What is going on?" So 10, 20 minutes in, they go, "Marissa, come on, it's your turn." I go, "Are you gonna
Where's the lessons?
where
Like,
where's the what do I do? Where's
where's
the
the
helmet?
manual?
Where's the chest? Where's the chest
Wait,
pad?"
no helmet? Do you
Nothing.
have
Nothing. Literally,
you
like,
just
when I tell you, we're in the middle of, like, the Amazon, man, like, it is hilarious, and I'm like,
what is
"Oh,
safety? Doesn't
it
matter.
the bowl is right there, and I have to literally get on and just ride it." And I have no choice. I was like, "Cool." Well, I had a choice, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I was like, "This is it. I have to do it for the plot. I have to do it." So I
Yeah.
literally go to get on this bowl, and then they pull the thing because they, like, have to tie it up because it's like, whatever. And then
Wait, break this down. So, like, so I can picture this. Are you like, is someone holding the
bowl
bull down?
so
Like,
the
is
bowl
there a
is like
saddle
yeah,
thing?
there's no
Okay.
saddle, no
Okay.
saddle, just bareback. The bowl is on the ground. They do have to, like, tie up the legs a little bit because otherwise it'll, like,
Yeah.
just pitter patter. And then they literally once they go like, "Okay, you're ready," like, I had to straddle it, but since it's laying on its
It
side,
has to get up.
I had to put my one leg over it and then just, like, crouch like this. And then there's, like, a rope hold that you put one of your hands underneath, and
Okay.
then you just have to, like it shoots up and, like, comes up like this, and
What's
you
the
just
rope attached to?
ju just the wrapped around the bull's stomach.
Okay. Okay. So
So,
around
like,
the stomach, and you're
it's
like,
just around the stomach, and you're just holding on, like, underneath a grip, and then once they were like, "Are you ready?" I'm like, "Any tips?
yeah,
Anything? Hello?" And they're like, "Yeah, yeah, just
you
focus.
good.
You got this." I'm like, "Literally what?" They're like, "Squeeze your legs, squeeze your legs." I'm like, what the heck is going on?" So I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool,
You're
great."
gonna die.
And
This
they
sounds like
literally
when like the Midwest dads throw someone on the like a wakeboard in the middle of a lake and they're like, "You got it. We're just gonna gun it. Tell us when you're ready." And you're like, "What am I supposed to do
"You
here?"
got
Like,
this. Don't
except
worry
there's not
about
a
it."
live animal involved here. It's just a wakeboard and some water. You're
Yeah.
you're
Yeah,
dealing with a
so
bull.
it was nuts, and they were like, "Are you ready?" I'm like, "I don't have a choice, sure." And they pull the thing to untie its legs, and the bull shoots up, and it literally just da-da, da-da, and just throws me like 4 or 5 feet, and I land
Wait, so you didn't even
right
stay on it? You were like, do you
it
even
was
count that as riding the
it
bull? I
was
think the
yeah, it was like 3 or it was like 4 to 5 seconds while I was on it,
okay.
and then it, like, shoots up. I went, "Da-da, da-da, da-da," and then just goes, "Wow," and just throws me off, and I'm like, "Oh my god," I just said that my heart is pounding. I'm like, "Oh my god," and I literally turned and they're all like, "Wow, like, you did that, like, you killed it," and, like, they were like, "This is so crazy," and then literally I go, "Again." I'm like,
I knew you were
"Again."
gonna say again.
I said,
I knew.
I got it now, again."
Yeah.
And they're like, "What?" I'm like, "Again. I wanna do it again." They're like, "Okay," and I literally
Round two.
got back on and did it again, and the second one was a little bit longer, but still, it threw me off harder than the first one, and it hurt really bad, but I did not die, and that was all that mattered, and it was one of the best experiences I've ever had, and it was so funny, and they were like, "You are kick-ass," and I said, "Thank you." They said, "We never had a woman do it," and I was like, "Thank you."
I'm glad it was me. You're like, I'll be the first.
I said, "I will always be that person."
That is wild. The fact that you're just like one day waking up and you're about to go on a bull in the middle of Guyana, which you're like, I didn't
At
even know that was a
5 in
country
the
a month
morning.
ago, and now you're riding a bull in it.
That was my favorite part was I was like, "I didn't even know this country existed, and now it's 5 a.m. and I'm riding a bull, so thank you."
And isn't this the country that you became like a mini celebrity in too?
Yes. Oh my I'm going back next week, Janelle.
Oh my God, tell me more. Tell
3rd
everyone like about this.
3rd time in 3 months, and I have never had this happen before in my life. Like, even in New York, like, sometimes I'll get recognized, like, it's random, very random,
Yeah.
but this was a whole 'nother level. So Guyana's pretty small. Its population for the whole entire country is, 800,000 people,
Whoa. Okay. Yeah.
and
Very small.
you have to realize, like, Guyana is, like, this big, right? But it's 70 or 65 or 70% Amazon. So, like, the
Okay.
places that are
Everyone lives in,
populated.
like, yeah, they're very densely
There it is,
populated.
very densely populated in each area. So I go and honestly, it was the first trip that we took, it was for work, and the first trip, it was a 10-day trip, and I was like, Okay, that's pretty long, like, it's pretty whatever," but the first, like, week, we didn't have any service. We were in the middle of nowhere, we had no service, no Wi-Fi, no nothing, and
Yeah.
so I
I
was just
remember
like
when you went off the grid for that. You were like,
yeah.
"Bye, see you
Yeah, I
in
was
10
like,
days."
"Thanks, I'll see you in a little bit, bye," and I just collected all of my content and, like, whatever,
Yeah.
and once we got back to, like, Georgetown, which is, like, the base city, capital, we just had a free night, and all of us were just like, "Okay, we're gonna sit in our hotel rooms and edit and just, like, start posting." We had a lot of
Mm.
content that we really liked, and it was a really, adventure-heavy, trip, so we were like, "Let's just do it and start posting." I start posting like crazy, and I'm posting on my numbers are going wild. Like 20
Yeah.
minutes in, 30 minutes in, I'm hitting 100K on each video and I'm like,
Yeah.
this is nuts. Like what is going on? And I go out like for dinner that night and people are like, "Oh, you're that girl." Like you're that girl. I'm like,
Oh my god.
"Wait, what?"
Like,
And I'm
wait
like,
a minute.
"Wait a
I just
minute."
posted this.
Yeah, and so we start taking, like we have to inside the country, you have to take small planes to each place because you can't drive because the Amazon's so heavy, and so
Yeah.
you have to take for each region, you have to take, like, a small little charter, and we get in the next day to go to another region in the country, and the pilot turns around and goes, "I follow you on TikTok, I saw your videos yesterday," and I was like,
Oh my god.
"What?" And the flight attendant girl or, like, the girl that works there was like, "Okay,
Yeah.
I don't wanna say anything, but, like, oh my god, I watched all your videos," and, like, yada yada. I was like, "What?" And then I start going to, like, grocery stores, the cashier's like, "Hey, I watch you on" I was I was like, "What is going on? This is so crazy," and then my videos started hitting millions and all this stuff, and I'm like, "There's not even 1,000,000 people in this country, so, like,
Yeah.
how is this happening?" So it was really wild, and then Guyanese people from, like, Toronto, New York, like, were seeing it,
Oh,
and it was
that's cool.
so crazy, so it kinda just turned into, like, this whole thing. They called me Guyonce.
That is amazing.
So, I went home.
Guyonce.
Yeah, I went home after the 10-day trip. I was walking back into my house from the airport, and I get a call, and they're like, "Would you be willing to come back tomorrow?" I was like, "Tomorrow? What do you mean tomorrow?" And they're like, "Would
Yeah.
you be willing to come? We have a rodeo this weekend. It's super cool, blah, blah, blah. Would you be willing to come
Wait, and
back
you just
tomorrow?"
rode the bull? Were they gonna ask you to perform in the rodeo?
I literally was like, "Yup." I was like, "Yup, I'm in there. I'm in there." Got my little cowboy hat.
Put
I
me
said,
in, coach.
"I am going in." So I literally go to the rodeo and I stand out already in this country, but like
Yeah.
going to a country like wide rodeo that like obviously like people that live there are there and like all this stuff. It was so cool because I went and I knew so many people because I met so many people on this 10-day trip that I was like, "These are my friends." I was like, "This is so
Yeah.
great." And like I'm going around at this rodeo, people are like asking to take photos with me. I took probably like in just the first day of the rodeo, I probably took like 100 to 150 photos. Like it
Wow.
was
Yeah.
nuts. I've never had this happen before. Still to this day,
Yeah.
like it was so cool. But I met a lot of cool people there. And yeah, next week I'm going back for this like cool drive thing that they have. It's so awesome. But it was one of the best experiences I've ever had in my life. And that country is freaking awesome.
Okay, Guyonce.
You know what I'm
She's
saying?
back. She's back. You gotta use some, like, Cowboy Carter tour, like, trending sounds or
I
something,
literally
and
was like,
really
I have to. I have
that
to.
is so funny. What is, like, one trip that you think should have gone viral but didn't?
Oh, that's a great question. I would probably say, hmm, I would probably say like maybe like my Egypt stuff.
Mm.
I felt like my
Yeah.
Egypt stuff was like really cool, and
Yeah.
I really like a lot of like really history based stuff or like really like I feel like
Culturally based trips?
yeah, like I feel like everyone has like a weird obsession with Egypt at some point in their life. I don't know, like
Yeah.
Egyptian history, and I was like really excited to go, and I felt like it was my content was really good, and I was like,
You're like, "Wait a
"Hello?"
minute. Why
And
is
I
this trip not" What was some
yeah,
of your favorite parts of it? Like, talk about some of the content and, like, what you put out, and tell us more about Egypt.
Egypt was my like dream. I was weirdly obsessed with Egypt growing up and Egyptian history and like all that stuff. I'm a big conspiracy theorist. I love a good conspiracy. And the
Of course you are.
pyramids and stuff. Come on, like
Yeah.
I don't know, it was so weird. It was so I always tell people if you're going to Egypt, make sure you have like a week before that you just like don't have any information because you're gonna have so much information in your head after like 5 days, 6 days, 7 days in
Oh,
Egypt that you're
yeah.
gonna be like overloaded. But I did so much. I was just showing like kind of like I was going at a time that not a lot of people were going, and I
Mhm.
felt like um the just the content in general showing people what it actually was like,
Mhm.
I didn't know until I literally was there that the pyramids are in the
Yeah.
middle of the ci there's a Pizza Hut right
Yeah.
next to the
No,
pyramid.
the Pizza Hut is, like, a very popular place where people go to, like, look
Yeah,
at the pyramids,
I'm
which is
thinking
crazy. It's like a viewing point.
I'm thinking that it's in the middle of some desert
Yeah.
so far away, you gotta, like, go far no, it's in the middle of the
No.
city, took, like, 10 minutes to get t from our
Yeah.
hotel to the pyra I'm like,
You could do, like, a really cool, like, pizza and pyramids date there, like, on the top of a Pizza Hut.
no, legit, but it was really cool. I did, like, a felucca overnight
Uh,
felucca ride, which is a
I don't
giant,
even know what
like,
that is.
sailboat kind of thing
Oh,
where
okay,
you
yeah.
just sleep on, like, one giant pad on the boat. It's like an open air, one giant everyone sleeps on a giant pad, and we did, like, an
Okay.
overnight Nile trip, which
Wow.
was incredible, and I
I
tell
really wanna go
everyone,
on the
if
Nile.
you do that because it was just unreal.
Mhm. And I feel
Um,
like Egypt is one of those destinations where, like, there's a lot of I don't wanna say misinformation, but it's either over glamorized or people, like, really are pushing, like, not fear-mongering type content of just like, "Oh my god, I would
yes.
never go alone, blah, 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 blah," and they're just like there's a lot of stuff and I get if you haven't traveled a lot, it sound I've never been there, but it sounds like a country, where there's people coming up to you off the streets trying to sell
Yeah.
you things and doing all of that, so if you're not used to how to, like, manage that, it can be really overwhelming, I'm sure. But, yeah, I feel like that's one of those places where you either get one side or the other. You either no one talks about what it's really like, or they're,
Yeah.
like, really just focusing on, like, the negatives and not so much of, like, how to manage an
That's
actual
why
trip there.
I think a lot of people fail to mention how to navigate countries. They'll either be like, "Oh my god, it's horrible," or like, "Oh, it
Yeah,
wasn't that bad," but they'll never talk about the actuality of it. I think with Egypt, that was the most approached I've ever been in any country ever, and
besides Guyana, Guyana.
well,
I'm just kidding.
I
Yeah,
meant, like,
yeah.
in terms of, like, street vendors or whatever, but, like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it really kind of for me, I'm like, I live in New York, I'm so used to this, I was like, "Whatever."
True.
There was 2 people that were with me on this thing, it was their first time outside of the country, and I was like,
Oh,
"Oh," and they were, like, losing they were like, "I can't do this, why is everyone trying to grab me? Why is everyone trying to talk to me?"
mhm.
And it as a woman in the Middle East, like, anywhere over there, you're gonna have to dress a certain way, you're gonna have to do it if you don't have to necessarily, if you don't want to, but, like, it's one of those things you're already standing out, why try to stand out more kind of thing,
Right.
but it's also how you handle it because you can't, go around it and you have to deal with it in person,
Yeah.
you know?
You have to address it.
Yeah, but it was actually really interesting. I learned so much about things that we've been taught in school or whatever that just like isn't correct or
Yeah.
just
Or
like
it's glossed over so many
yeah, and
details,
I'm like,
like
it was so crazy, and
yeah.
I just was like that trip though was so informative, so cool to just be like, "Whoa, this is" you kinda sit there and you're like, "Is any of this real? This is crazy. How do I feel? Like, this is wild." But it's cool to see obviously in person and know that that's that, but, like, I didn't realize how big Egypt was, like, there's a whole 'nother side of it that is, like, beautiful beaches and, like, clear water,
Yeah.
and I'm like, "Oh, I need to go back," but my tour guide, we hired a local, his name is Mohammed, and he is my BFF. I love that man so much, and he's like,
Yes.
"We're gonna go with my family to, like, the
Oh
Red
my god.
Sea. Does he like, come with us?" I'm like, "Hell yeah, I'm in that." So, like, it's cool, you have to just really be open-minded and just, like, really talk to locals, talk to people, really
Yeah.
just push your because a lot of people are gonna take it as, "Oh, I can't do that. Oh, I don't wanna over" I'm like, "Come on, talk to people."
Right, and I feel like in some of these countries where people either don't go deeper than, like, the surface level or, like, Guyana, for example, where, like, they're so excited people don't go there as often, they are so excited to share their culture,
Yeah.
share their story with you, and I feel like those are some of the most transformative trips for me is, like, when we were in Vietnam, we had lunch at this family's home, it's multi-generational housing, they shared with us their dishes, their recipes, and it was just, like I'm getting chills thinking about it, and, like, she was sharing us their, like, family moonshine recipe.
No
Essentially, it
way!
tasted like it was like an apple pie type flavoring kind of like drink to it, and like cinnamon and stuff. And I don't know, because my friend and I were just like so engaged in asking questions and like trying to capture them cooking, like we asked if we could take photos of them, and they were like loving it, just that we
Yeah.
were like wanting to show this to people back home. They like gave us this like bottle of moonshine, and by bottle I mean it was like a plastic 1 liter water bottle type thing that they like filled the moonshine into. And she was like, please, spoke like barely any English, and was, you know, please take this is like my gift to you, thank you so much. And it just from like asking questions and trying to like learn
Yeah.
more about their stories and cultures. And I think that that's where you can really dive in, and like you get those really unique experiences that you might
Yeah.
not get if you just go to the one museum in town, or like, you know, don't really like ask questions and get to know locals.
Yeah. After my Guyana trip, I was just reading the comments because my videos went so viral in Guyana, and I was just reading some of the things that people were saying, and a lot of it was like, "Whoa, like I didn't even know this existed, and I'm from here. Like
Wow,
I
yeah.
haven't even been to this region, and I'm from. Oh, I take this for granted, or like, wow, like
Hmm.
I've never even heard of this country, and I would like love to go now. And it's cool to again, like I'm to blame. Like I didn't even know it was a country. Like I did not
Yeah.
know. A lot of a big thing that I was doing, I would say to my friends, like, "Oh, I'm going to Guyana." And they'd be like, "Oh, in Africa?" I was like, "No, that's Ghana." And then
Yeah.
there's French Guyana, and then there's, like, there's, like, 5 things that sound all the same, but, like, everyone was like, "Oh, you're, like, this one, that one." And I'm like, "No, it's a," and then I'd be like, "Guyana," and they'd be like, "Is that even a country or is that the city?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's so crazy because I didn't know either, so I can't even blame them, but
Yeah.
it's so cool to I posted all that content, and now I have people, like, being like, "Hey, how can I go? How can I support? How can I do this? How can I do what you did at in this country?" It's awesome
Hmm.
to see people actually want to go to the countries that I've been posting or that I post content from, and then people message me and be like, "I didn't even know this was on my bucket list. Now we're going on our honeymoon there." And I'm like,
Wow.
that's
Yeah.
so cool, and it's
Yeah.
cool, but it's a big deal of showing what I stopped doing before was I was just showing me traveling, and I think
Yeah.
that is where people go wrong in a term of travel influencers or travel. It's like, yes, people wanna see you living your best life and everything, but it's like, also, like, people are following you to find out information.
Yeah.
I always would be like, "Oh, this hotel isn't paying me, like, I'm not gonna tag 'em," or, like, "I'm not gonna show people where it is." And it's like, people wanna know where to stay. If they go through my
Yeah.
highlights, they're gonna be like, "What was this?" Like,
Right. They want to
where
know if you like it, if you don't like it, if
Yes.
the location was good.
Yeah,
Here's the pros and cons. Yeah, I
yeah,
just did that on a recent trip in LA too, of like, here's the pros and cons of this hotel.
yeah,
Like, this is what I liked about it. People want to learn, so when they're trying to like recreate it themselves, they have a guide to go off of,
yeah,
especially in these countries that aren't as trafficked by American
yeah,
tourism, you know? So they don't know, like, and they trust you. You've built that relationship where
yeah,
you can trust them, or
yeah,
that they can trust you, I guess. You know, it's like a two-way. They know that when you're giving a recommendation, it is like from your full chest.
yeah,
And you, I love like too, you don't just share the positives of travel. Like you share the real sides of travel, like the missed flights, the like
yeah.
sweaty waiting for an airport or waiting for an airplane to come, or like just the craziest stuff.
I
You share all
think
of that.
you have to, like, that's a
Yeah.
big thing for me that I can say this full-heartedly, I am not a beauty influencer, I'm not a fashion influencer. I may include some of that stuff in my content
Yeah.
regularly here and there, but I think it's for me, like, I'm showing you, like, "Yo, I just slept on a dirt floor with
Yeah.
3 mosquito nets, no sheet, no pillow, I'm using this." When I went back to Guyana, I posted that whole thing where I had to take a bus
Oh
that was
my God.
supposed to be 10 to 12
Bus,
hours.
club, other bus. It was like,
Bus was supposed to be 10 to 12 hours, turned out to be 18, and
yeah.
then I showed up and I thought I was sleeping in, like, a hotel or someone's guest house. I was sleeping in a tent it was 95 degrees and 100% humidity, and it was pouring rain, and the zipper broke on the thing on the door,
Perfect.
and, like, stuff like that where I was showing people, like, This is not what you think. I'm not
Yeah.
in a five-star luxury hotel here. Like, I am sleeping in someone's backyard in a tent that the zipper broke, and she ended up putting a blanket over it, which made it even more hot, and it was like
Yeah.
I woke up in a literal pool, and then I had to go to this, like, rodeo and, like, look cute and, like, all this stuff, and I was like, "This is this is where I started, and this is where I ended. Here we are." Like,
Yeah.
but it's stuff like that where, like, I don't want people to think I'm just, like, some bougie, like, whatever. I'm like, I am literally in the trenches right now. Like, I'm
Well, and like
obsessed.
travel's not perfect. And I feel like if travel influencers don't show that side of it, like the people who aren't influencers but are just like posting their vacation, they're just gonna post their like amazing vacation pics because
Yeah,
why wouldn't you? They don't like post everything
yeah.
about their life on
No,
there.
not
But I
the
think it's helpful for travel influencers to share some of these things because then you don't feel alone in it. And it comes back to like, community again because it's
Yeah,
like, oh wow, this is Marissa's dealt with this before, or Janelle's dealt with X, Y, and Z, and like I know what to happen. Like I get so many DMs about people when they miss their flights or if
yes,
something gets canceled, they're DMing me asking me like, what can I do? Like all of these things because
yeah,
I share about it. Like
yeah,
I share about my lost bags all the time. And it's like, hey, this stuff happens. It's a part of travel. It's not fun, but we've obviously learned things to make it a little bit easier or just to laugh about it and like like have fun with it as much
yeah.
as we can. Where it's like, wow, this is kind of shitty. Like it is what it is.
Whenever I go and I fly Delta, I always think of you and I'm like, "Oh, like, I can, like, message them and be like, hey, like, I need the whatever this happened,' or something like that,' and I look at your content because 'cause I'm like, "Okay, am I being petty? Like, am I being this?" And
Yeah.
I'm like, "No, like, Janelle says it's okay. I can do it." Like, it's
You're allowed
okay.
to text them and ask them for miles.
But yeah, it's cool. I
Yeah.
think it's important to share those parts because then other people, 1, it's obviously knowledge, that's the whole point. But 2, it's so freaking awesome to be able to like have someone learn something from you and then be like, "Oh, it changed my life," or like, "Oh, I learned about this destination from you," or like,
Yeah.
"I'm basing my itinerary off of yours." Like, it's awesome. I'm like, "This is thank you for making me feel like
Yeah.
I'm doing my job well."
And even back to like the Egypt trip with those people that you had traveled with where that was their first trip out of the country and it's like, oh, you seeing that can help you kind of frame your conversation around
Yeah,
what to do with, if these people are coming up to you in Egypt, like how to talk to your
yeah,
audience about that so then they can learn and they're not overwhelmed about this thing happening and being like, wow, I had no idea that this is what I was going to get into here.
yeah,
And, they're a little bit more prepared both mentally and just, or maybe they decide then they want a tour guide who's going to like be more not aggressive with the locals, but they keep having a
yeah,
tour guide helps because
yeah.
they can tell the locals to like buzz off, like,
Yeah.
you know,
It was funny though in Egypt, in Arabic, it's my fish falus, and it means
what is
like,
that?
"I don't have any money, like, no thank you."
Oh,
And so the first day we were like, "How can we help everyone in this like, that's with us?" It was a group trip that we were doing, and we are like, "How can we go about, like, making sure that these people that are 1, they have never traveled outside the country, but all of us that, like, whatever." And he was like, "Oh, like, it's like, 'My fish are loose,' like, 'My fish for
my
loose,'
fish.
and it's 'My fish for loose,' and it's like, 'My fish for loose, my fish for loose,' and all that's all you have to say. That's
Yeah.
I always tell people if they're like, "Hey, I'm going to Egypt. Hey, I'm going to the middle," I'm like, "Just say 'My fish for loose, my fish for loose,' and that they'll know exactly what you're saying, like, "I don't want to like, please don't talk to me, like, I don't have any money, like, whatever. No,
Yeah,
thank
they'll
you."
leave you alone.
And that's, like, something that I posted, everyone's like, "I use my fish are loose the whole time." Like, I'm like, it's just
Yes,
funny,
but it's
like
those sorts of useful, like, tips that people actually can implement where it, like, helps their trip, and they're like, "Oh,
Yeah,
wow," and not just like, "This is the hotel I stayed at," which is great and
yeah,
amazing, like, don't get me wrong, but, like, this is something that is super actionable that, like, helps people they wouldn't know what to say, and when you have, like, as a travel content creator, and we do get tour guides on a lot of our
mhm,
experiences, it is great to have some of that, like, local knowledge that then we can, like, disseminate and share with our audience who
yeah,
maybe they don't have the money or they don't want to spend it on a tour guide and that sort of thing. So you can kind of give them little tips to help them travel easier and better and that sort of thing. So I
exactly.
think that that's really a really cool like piece of our jobs. What would you say today looks like for you in terms of building connection with your community online and in person? You've obviously grown a lot in this space from just with no more lonely friends into a travel content creator. What does it look like for you today?
I think so. We're starting back up No More Lonely Friends events. We didn't
Okay.
do them through the winter because it was winter and sad. And well, we did a few actually. We did some like inside like bars, but otherwise,
It's hard
this
space
year
wise. Where are you going to put a couple hundred people in New York City?
That too. So,
Yeah.
yeah, and the biggest thing is that I've been traveling so much for work that I haven't had time to, like, do it, and I'm always gone, so that was, like, a big thing that I was like, I feel like I'm losing community, like, I need it back, so that'll
Yeah.
be starting up, in, like, about 3 weeks, again,
Wow,
and
exciting. So
yeah,
where can people find those events then? Is it
on just nomorelonelyfriends.com or at our Instagram, No More Lonely Friends,
that's
and
so incredible.
I always be posting on there, so just watch that. And then in terms of just community in general online, I feel like it is so important as a person online that you're responding to people. I
Mhm.
am a hoe for responding to comments. I will respond
You're
to
so good at it.
even if you respond a hate comment, I respond to every single person on every single post. I think it's not only good for my engagement, obviously, but it's also, like,
Yeah.
answering people's questions, talking to people, making people feel like they're connected. I answer all of my DMs unless you send me a
You're so
weird
good at it.
message, and, like, that's what I that's what I'm into, but I'm just so, like, I really enjoy what I do, and I think it's, like,
Yeah. You can
I
feel it.
yeah, I'm not
Like, we all can feel it from you.
yeah, thank you. We're I am not like in terms of there's like for me a lot of people that are involved in like a drama circle where like it keeps them relevant and in terms of like
Yeah.
their friends are famous or like they're in an influencer group and I'm not a part of one of those. So like
Totally.
I have to fight for myself to keep myself relevant, right? So like it's
Yeah.
me against me right now. Like so I think when it comes to doing that type of stuff, I'm like it's important to respond back to stuff. It's important to
Yeah.
reach out to people and talk to people and you know if they're asking me for recommendations or something like it's important to respond to them so that they can trust me or whatever it is and I really am dedicated for that and I think that's what why people follow me a lot of the times and also why people trust what I say because they are like oh cool like it's like
It feels like a friend. Like
yeah
you're just like texting a friend.
a
Yeah,
lot
like
I would say the highest compliment, but also comment that I get when I meet people in person is like, "You're exactly like you are in person
yeah.
as you are online," and I'm like,
Yeah,
"Thank
I
you."
get that a lot too, and it's one of my favorites because I'm like, I'm glad I'm coming off the same way. Like,
It's
this is
such a
amazing.
compliment.
Like, yeah, because it's like I wouldn't want it to be any different. I wouldn't want you to meet me and be disappointed or like
I'm
you
just like
obviously follow me for a
character.
reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. One last question for you before I let you go. For someone listening who feels like they haven't found their people yet, what would you say to them?
A big thing for me is in New York, a lot of people have, like, big friend groups.
Yeah.
It's a big city type vibe, and a lot of people are, "Oh, my college friends who all live here now. Oh, I this." You know, I dropped out of college. I have moved a lot. I've done a lot of things where I'm, like, bouncing around, like, whatever, but I
Hmm.
have, like, my core friends, but, like, they're not in a friend group, right, or something like that,
Yeah.
where it's like you feel like it's like, "Wait, am I doing this right?" I have never in my life been at the point where I feel like I can be like, "Yeah, I'm good," right? I'm always meeting people, I'm always talking to
Hmm.
people, but I think that for me, I'm always on the lookout for, "Okay, cool, like, should I join this soccer rec team on
Yeah.
Tuesdays to meet new people?" Like, I think there's always going to be something next week, tomorrow, the
Hmm.
next day that you're gonna end up meeting someone that you never expected, right? You don't know that you're gonna meet up with someone and find someone, right? It's just kinda like a relationship. You don't know
Hmm.
necessarily sometimes when you're gonna meet your soulmate, right?
Totally.
And I
And it
think
sounds like here
that
you have like an openness
yeah,
to like these to going to these things and like you're
yeah.
kind of keeping an eye out where it's like, oh, I could go to that and meet someone.
I think that's where a lot of people get hopeless. And I think that when it comes to you trying to meet people and trying to get outside and trying to do things like every little thing that you do, even if you go for a walk in your neighborhood and you say hi to a neighbor, like you are taking one step closer to just like socialization of meeting different types of people. I meet people, moms, grandmothers that follow
Hmm.
me in their 40s, 50s, 60s that are like, this I don't know if I'm doing this thing right. And I'm like, if you at 60 are saying this to me, who's in my 20s, you know, it is their hope, right? I'm like, oh God,
Yeah.
like, but then I meet up with someone. There was a guy who came to almost every single meetup that I had, and he was in his 50s, I believe. And he
Wow.
was like, I found my people. This is crazy. But he
Wow.
was like,
So
I found
cool.
my people. He goes to all of these events with them. He goes to
Yeah.
the parades. He goes all this stuff. He is so cool. And he was like, I just didn't give up. And like that sounds so
Hmm.
cliche, so lame. Like, so whatever,
Yeah.
whatever you want, obviously. But like even me, who's everyone's always like, oh, you probably have thousands of friends now that you do these meetups. I'm like, that's like it's you would assume. You would assume
Yeah.
so. You would assume so. But it's like also like I'm allowed to be like, okay, let me look for my people, like whatever. But
Yeah.
when it comes to these meetups and stuff, a lot of them for me is like this is like my job. So like I'm like being
Yeah.
a
You're
host.
in work
You
mode
know what I
for
mean? I'm in
sure.
work mode. I'm like
Yeah.
doing my thing. But almost every single person, besides like maybe one or two that I hang out with today, are from my meetups.
Wow.
So that's
Wow.
cool.
So just like putting yourself out there is like a huge thing.
If you're looking for friends, I heard this thing, No More Lonely Friends. They're pretty cool. So you should
They're
try 'em.
starting back up. They're starting back up. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. Where can everyone find you? Plug yourself. Plug away.
Marissa Meizz. That's
Spell
Marissa.
your last name. Oh yeah.
Meizz. It's a weird last name, but you get it.
It's a
I'm
cool last
Marissa
name.
Meizz on all platforms and yeah, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. You know what it is.
And no more lonely friends.
Oh, yes. And if you want to come to our meetups or just like be a part of the community, there is nomorelonelyfriends.com and also No More Lonely Friends on Instagram.
Yay! Well, thank you so much. This conversation has been so fun, and I will see you online, probably in some other country that you
You're
are
an
going
angel.
to next.
You're the best. I will speak
Thanks,
to you
Marissa.
soon.
Bye. If something in today's episode resonated, pass it along to a friend who would get it. Hit subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next, and for a sneak peek behind the scenes, plus a first look at upcoming guests, follow along on Instagram @OutOfOfficeEra. Thanks for hanging out with me. We're doing this one out of office moment at a time.